mics, Bradley? He needs mic. One or
Do you
two.
want the lapel? Do you want the lapel? Or-
Yeah, I will. I'll take both. It's clean.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
You have guests on stage?
Nope.
Meeting?
Nope. Hello, hello. Testing. I don't see any young men around here. Hello, testing. Can you hear me? Testing, testing, testing. Hi. How we doing? What's that? Good. Thanks for being here. I better make it good, huh? Not as bad as it has been. We are still running a little leaner than we would like to. Yeah, that's one of the problems where we're. Yeah, we've had one full-time team member who's out on a medical leave, which made it tough. And then we still have one or two other positions to that, which we haven't had filled for a while. So yeah, we're got to get a few more bodies in that. Yeah, sure am. Because I don't want to talk about running. What are you making, Shell? Nice. Yeah, I was over at the JCC. Was I with you? I don't remember who I was there with, and they were telling us about it. And it was so funny because he was like, it's like knitting and mitzvah. Mitzvah. And I thought, oh, that's so cool. Really? Oh, yeah. That's really cool. Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. We're successfully making it as complicated as possible to get in here. um, is it that cold? Is it cold in here? Oh, well, let's change that, shall we? I hope so. Thanks, Ruby. I'm gonna move some chairs out of the way. You all right? Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me okay? All right. I heard it was chilly, so we've turned on the heater. If it gets hot, then, as my wife would say, take off your jacket. But then if it gets cold, put your jacket back on. No, if it gets too hot, we'll turn it off. It's good to see everybody. Thank you for being here. If it's anybody's first time at one of our community chats, we're glad you're here. We meet informally or have an informal conversation. Sometimes there's a little bit of structure. The second and fourth Thursday of each month at 1:30. And on the first Thursday of each month at 3:30, we have the State of the Business meeting. So these are hopefully good opportunities to stay connected with the various things that might be going on throughout the community. And we meet here, but we're also, hopefully, if everything's working correctly, being shown on Zoom and TLG TV, which is channel 998. So for those of you that are joining from home, hi. Okay, yes, Pat. The first question of the day, why don't we have the main lights on? Because we're going to look at a couple things on the slides, and then we'll flip the lights on after that. Okay. And we have a microphone here. If anyone has questions or comments as we go, I will pass it over to Paul, who will act as our microphone runner.
Be glad to.
Until he starts speaking, and then maybe we'll switch it over. So there's two things that I wanted to just mention and make sure everybody is aware, and things that I'm kind of excited about. We have, and I may have spoken with some of you about this already, but one of the things that's really important to us and is increasingly important to us as a community and as an organization is to help our team members develop, learn new skills, expand in their capabilities so that they can continue to pursue their career, hopefully within our community or hopefully within our organization. But if it's beyond the walls of our organization, that's okay too, because it's the right thing to do to help our team members grow and develop. So there's two things that I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of. We have something called Good to Grow. And what Good to Grow is, it's a relatively new program that we have within the Human Good organization. That's a leadership development program for our frontline team members. So it's an opportunity. What we found as an organization, and what I've certainly experienced within this industry, is a challenge where we have really, really good frontline team members, and then they're really successful. And so what we do is we say, great, we are going to make you a manager. And then they go, great, I've never been a manager, but I'll do it. And then we put them in these management roles or these supervisory roles. And then we say, keep doing good things in this new job that's completely different than what you've done before. And we don't do a great job as preparing them to be managers, supervisors. And so this, like I said, this is something that plagues our industry. I've experienced this in varying degrees everywhere I've been. I'm sure it expands outside of the senior living and the healthcare industries as well. So we're making an effort to change that. So we have this organization-wide program called Good to Grow, Emerging Leaders. And there's another Good to Grow for existing leaders. But this one is a 10-week program. Team members, frontline team members, they can either apply themselves or they can be nominated by a team member or by a peer or by a supervisor, with the goal of helping these team members be more successful in their relationships, be more prepared to step into leadership roles when those opportunities arise. Some of the topics they include in the program are prioritizing your work, collaboration, skillful conversations, and a whole bunch of other stuff. We started this program last year. We had one group last year, and so we are launching the second group starting next month. And we have 3 team members from the Terraces of Los Gatos that have been accepted into this round. Kendall Bonney, who many of you know, actually many of you probably know most or all of these. Kendall, who's our executive assistant. Estella Rodriguez, who's been with us for many years. She actually started in housekeeping, and she worked in housekeeping. She worked in dining. She was a certified nursing assistant in the health center. She was a caregiver, I think, in assisted living. So she's done a lot, and she's currently our personnel scheduler up in the health center, manages all of the schedules, as well as central supply ordering and inventory management. So she's going to be in this next group, as well as Willie Vasquez, who has also worked in several roles within the community, and he's currently our admissions coordinator in the health center. So I just wanted to share that because I'm really excited about it. And if you see these team members and you feel like encouraging them, I think it would be helpful and go a long way. Also wanted to make sure everybody knows about what's called the Foster Family Education Fund. Who knows what the Foster Family Education Fund is? Who doesn't know what the Foster Family Education Fund is? All right, we're about maybe 60-40, which is why I'm talking about it. The Foster Family Education Fund has nothing to do with fostering families, which is a common misunderstanding, understandably. What the Foster Family Fund is, there was a family with the last name of Foster, who started a fund that provides scholarships for team members of the Terraces of Los Gatos. So it's an education scholarship program. That's what I said. And it's funded by the Terraces of Los Gatos. So this is a fund that is uniquely available to team members of the Terraces of Los Gatos. Here locally, it's not something that expands beyond the walls of the Terraces of Los Gatos throughout the organization. It's a great program. There is a committee of residents and a few team members that actively work really hard to make sure that this fund stays alive, that we can continue to receive contributions and work with our team members to be able to grant scholarships. And so I wanted to share just a few of the most recent individuals. Oh, I got ahead of myself. There is also something called the Human Good Educational Assistance Program, which is a similar program in some respects, but it's a tuition reimbursement program that provides financial support for team members across the entire Human Good organization who want to pursue additional education. And that's funded by Human Good, so funded by the organization, and it's available to all team members within the organization. Here are a few of the most recent team members that have continued their education or are currently continuing their education with the support of one or both of those funds. The top four, are all now certified nursing assistants that work in the Grove in our memory support, which is fantastic. And below that, Martin Knoll, our memory support manager, recently completed certification to become a certified administrator. Omar, Estella, and Willie are also all either recently completed or in the process of going through some additional education. So a lot of great work that's being done to help our team members advance in their careers. Any questions? Linda. Paul's got the mic. I don't know if I turned it on. Oh, good.
Okay, I have two questions.
Yes.
About the first growth program. Where
Yes.
Willie and two
Kendall
others-
and Estella.
in looking at the things that you pulled out as what they were going to learn, I don't understand how that leads them to be better able to manage. Was that part of the goal?
Yes. I provided a very probably poor description of the things that will be covered in the course. But it's really a leadership training and development course where there's a series of weekly classes that they'll be in. And it's very interactive, a lot of role playing. And then there's also a mentorship component to it, where the participants have an ongoing mentor that extends even beyond the length of the course, to serve as a guide and a mentor to help them.
And how are the outcomes measured?
That's a great
Are they?
question. I don't know. That's a good question, though. I don't know, but I'll find out.
Okay. The other question has to do with the two team member education programs, Foster Family and the Human Good. Are they both in play at once, sometimes for team members or not?
Can you ask the question one more time? Because I don't know if I followed you.
Oh, dear.
Sorry, I'm a little
It
slow
was a
today.
simple question.
Is the
Bradley.
question, can a team member apply for both?
Yes, and be granted both
yes.
at the same time.
Yes, and that's something that we always encourage, that people apply for both funds, because there are caps what's available through each of the funds. So if somebody applies to the Foster Family Education Fund, we almost always encourage them to also apply for the Human Good Fund, so that they can maximize the benefit. Good question. Ms. Parrish.
Bradley, having been involved with leadership training and education support in other venues, the idea of a period of agreement that the person receiving the training will continue to benefit the organization, and we hear about a lot of employee turnover, and so expectations would be for people to get promoted, and just like to hear about how that return on investment benefiting the organization and the residents here.
Good question. And I have a couple of thoughts I can share. One, I think there's sort of, as you alluded to, there's two sides to this. There's the team member and the recipient side. And there is a written expectation that the team members, if they receive funds through either of those programs, that they remain a team member at the Terraces of Los Gatos for 2 years. It's not really enforceable, to be perfectly honest, but that's the expectation that we set. And one of the things that we do with the Foster Family Education Fund recipients is the committee members always meet with all of the applicants. And it's an opportunity for the committee members to get to know the applicant, and also for the committee to provide encouragement for them, offer their support, and also to let them know what the expectations are. And the committee is fairly direct in setting that expectation, that the team member remain at the Terraces of Los Gatos, at least for a couple of years and hopefully longer. On the flip side, we as a community and as an organization, we also have an obligation to do everything that we can within our control to create those opportunities for those team members, because it would still be beneficial, but not necessarily beneficial to us as a community if we help prepare our team members to grow and develop and advance in their careers, and then we don't provide them those opportunities. Because then they will take those skills and they will find the right opportunity. And if we don't make that opportunity available to them, it's certainly understandable eventually that they will move on. So I think there's kind of there's a two-sided obligation there. And that's something that I'm involved with a committee within the Human Good organization that specifically, we have the specific goal of making sure we are finding new opportunities to help our team members grow and advance through more leadership positions within the organization. So there is a conscious effort that we are making to make sure we're providing those opportunities. Any other thoughts, Linda?
Just as a matter of interest, do the team members who are applying for foster family or human good funds for education, do they have to present some goal, some career aspiration? I want to become a specific something, rather than just a general goodness kind of statement.
Good question. And yes, part of the application process for either funding source is for the team member to be thoughtful and explain in writing what their goals are and how the furthered education in the field that they've chosen will be a benefit to the organization. And so, I mean, the examples that we saw, a lot of them were caregivers or other positions that have gotten their certification to be certified nursing assistants. Nursing schools are one that we have several applicants or recipients that have gone through nursing school. But it also extends beyond that. We could provide tuition support for culinary school, or to get other certifications, HVAC certifications. So oftentimes it's nursing or healthcare related education, but it doesn't have to be. And it maybe is just because there's more in that line of work within the community than other departments. Any other questions, comments about that before we move on? Okay. A couple of other things that I wanted to mention, and I'll grab my notes here. There's a meet and greet here at 4 o'clock. That's what the room is partially set up for now. So opportunity to meet new residents that have recently moved into the community. So 4 p.m. here. Does anyone have anything else to add? Anyone from the social committee or anything I should mention specifically? TL Glee is singing. Wonderful. Was there? Who's being interviewed today? No, so it's not getting to know you, which is the interviews. It is a meet and greet for all of the recently moved in residents will be introduced. Okay. Another upcoming event to make sure everybody is aware of is the Women's Tea, which will be on February 8th. I didn't write down the date. Thank you. And that's a great event every year. Sharon, do you have details? Oh, hold on. Paul's got the mic. Thank you.
You may be going to mention them also, the Sweetheart Dance, where the high school boys come over and dance with all the ladies.
Ooh.
And that's coming up also in February, as is the Super Bowl, where it'll be up on the big screen, the game.
Perfect. I did not have those listed, so I'm glad that you mentioned them. Linda.
Given the fact that we have not had much in the way of community provided events and activities for residents, I think we owe the social committee a big hand for the work that they've done and the way they filled in and the things they're providing to the community.
Absolutely. I have a question after Jean and then Marilyn.
I just wanted to announce that the art wall now has a new display, which is absolutely beautiful. And we should be getting the advertisement word out any day now. But it's really beautiful. If you can take a few minutes to run around there, you'll really enjoy it.
Thank you. And for anyone who may not know, the art wall is past the dining room, hang a left, and it's on the left-hand side. It is beautiful artwork. That's beautiful paintings up there.
You
right
know,
now.
I wanted to tell you, before you came, I guess, Judy was she was the director of things to do. And we used to have dinner here, and like the first dinner we had was, we saw Gone with the Wind. We had dinner here, and then we saw a movie, and we did that quite a few times. And we used to have the candlelight dinners. None of these are happening anymore. And I just wondered if we could get Judy back. I don't know.
Thank you for that question and comment. These last few years have been very different for a number of reasons. One, because of COVID, but also because of some changes in some of those key positions. Judy, from what I've last heard, has actually recently accepted and is very happy in a new role with a different organization. But the good news is we will be making an official announcement on Monday of next week to introduce our new, as Marilyn put it, Director of Things to Do, which we are officially calling our Director of Community Engagement or Activities Director, whatever you want to call it is fine. But we have an outstanding individual who is from within the Human Good organization. So an internal candidate from the organization, but not from the Terraces of Los Gatos. And this person is truly going to be fabulous. That's all I can say for now, because an official announcement will be made on Monday. So stay tuned. And hopefully we'll be able to bring a lot of those things back, but add some additional wonderful things as well. Paul.
Bradley, the idea of engagement extending beyond the walls of the terraces, maybe using this group as a sample, how many people have family members receiving TLG Connect information?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah, just a few. And the supposition is, I've just been interacting with staff here to get some family members on that. I have a family member who does have TLG Connect access, and they watch the community updates, the COVID updates, and they dig out the rag.
Oh, good.
And those three things would help engage family members, and they might even help recruiting next generation to live here.
Ah, yeah, I like that. So good. Thank you for mentioning that. And so if you do have any family members that would like access, there's a couple things you could do. You could talk to Kendall directly. You can send an email to me or to Kendall, or there's an email address that's tlgconnect@humangood.org. You can send an email there requesting access for any family members that would like access.
Well, your announcement was a wonderful, breaking news event. So when will we have the breaking news event about the Galleria remodel?
Ah,
It's broken a long time ago, Bradley.
so
It's always delayed.
Linda, you're gonna hate this answer.
You're right. I can tell already.
On Monday, February 6th, we are having a meeting here with our architect, with our designer, with our corporate director of facilities, and our senior vice president of operations, and probably a few other people. And the goal and the purpose of that visit is to get all of the players together in the same room, and we don't leave that room until we have a definitive plan with some sort of a timeline in place for the Galleria remodel. Okay. Don't. So yeah, that's what I can say now. Ms.
In the
Thomas.
meantime, is it possible to get rid of all the things that are torn and the K-pox coming out and everything in the Galleria?
We certainly should.
It's really disgraceful to bring anybody in here and see that. And the dirty things that are at the furniture that's outside the dining room is another issue.
Yes, and I think part of the meeting that we will have will be determining, okay, what's a realistic timeline of when the upgrade is going to happen, and depending on what that timeline is, what do we need to do in the interim to address some of those most urgent issues. The chairs that are outside the main dining room, the yellow ones, I encourage you to take a look at them today and see if they look any better than they have previously looked, because we did a really good deep clean on them. But we need to have an interim plan for sure.
Right.
Okay.
There will be a human good board and human good residents council tour of the terraces of Los Gatos, as well as the terraces of Los Altos, I believe, in mid-February. And we sure don't want people to feel sorry for us that we live in such a ragged place.
Or maybe we make it look really bad. So then they come in and then they just bring their pocketbooks with them. And no, yes. Thank you for mentioning that. On February 22nd, we have in the afternoon, we'll have a visit from the Human Good Board and several others that are involved with the board in various capacities. We'll be here at the community for a dinner, as well as tours of the community. So thank you for mentioning that. We may recruit some of you to help out with the tours. So stay tuned. Linda may be contacting some of you.
I'm wondering if we're making any headway at all about getting generators in our elevators. I had a doctor's appointment on the day our power went off. And both Victor and Belai helped me get down the stairs. But there are probably at least a half a dozen on my unit, on my floor, that would never get down. This is an emergency. I see it as an emergency.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. And this is a complex situation, and I will be as honest as I possibly can be. We have there's a battery backup for each of the elevators that when the power goes out, the elevators will go to the first floor, the doors will open, and residents will be able to get out. What's that? Or the basement. It'll go to the lowest floor, and the doors will open. There is not a generator for each of the elevators. The elevator that's here in the A building in the health center is hooked up to our backup generator. The feasibility of having a generator backup for each of the elevators in independent living is very difficult. It will likely, we probably won't have generator backups that will be able to power the elevators in any sort of a substantive way in the event of a power outage.
What about the feasibility of saving human lives? Come
So
on. There will be lawsuits for sure if we have an emergency and people can't get down.
So in the event of an emergency situation where evacuation needs to take place, we do have emergency evacuation chairs that can be utilized in the stairwells to help bring people down in the event of an emergency. On the flip side, now this is where conversation may get a little complicated. Residents that live in residential living need to be able to evacuate the building independently. That is what's outlined in the resident handbook. It's outlined in the resident contract. From a regulatory standpoint, it's what has to happen. And so if there are residents that are unable to evacuate from their apartment safely and independently, we need to work with those residents to create an alternate plan. That may include transitioning to assisted living or to a different level of living. That may be an alternate plan that may involve additional caregiver support. But in short, residents that live in independent living need to be able to evacuate from the building without the use of an elevator. Linda.
Then why is marketing having residents move into independent living who are obviously incapable of evacuating? Just saying, Bradley.
No,
It comes from the top.
There's a couple of different components. One is that is something that we're looking at closely. And also looking close. So it's new residents that are moving in, making sure that they fit that criteria, and then also working with residents that are currently here to transition when the time is appropriate. But it's a very valid point. Thank you. Joanne.
At one point in the evacuation plans that we had, since you're supposed to shelter in place for fire, and then with the possibility of leaving the building, people were told that they were to gather at the open balconies that face out on the P building anyway, that face out into the parking lot and the driveway. There are open alcoves at the end. And if they were there, then that's where the fire department would a system to get out. This is not, I mean, I agree with you. You have to be able to get out on your own, but that was the alternative at that point. And it was in the plans. And then, because the CERT team goes through and does all their drills, but they've never said what the residents' responsibilities are beyond putting out the white sticker. So that's important to know. You know, you stay in place if there's a fire, if there is a gathering point, that kind of thing.
Thank you for mentioning that. And actually, there are a couple of things to mention about that. We have so we have this big, you know, I don't know, a couple 100-page emergency operations plan that I'm sure some of you have it memorized. Paul knows it front to back. What we're currently working on is creating we're actually starting with a focus on our residents that live in the lodge and assisted living, but creating a simple 1, maybe 2-page guide of what to do or what to expect in the event of fill in the blank. So we have nearly completed, we're making some revisions on a document that will go out to first to residents in assisted living. Eventually we'll have a version for residents in residential living. That's what to do in the event of a power outage. These are all the things that you need to know. These are all the things that you should expect to happen. These are all the things that you will be expected to do in the event of, in the first case, power outage. So something that's very simple, very easy to follow. Everybody feels confident knowing I know what to do when something happens. But also, in sort of maybe in a more general sense, some of you may have noticed that we have been working on communication out to the residents about what their expectations are, specifically about what the expectation is for someone that's living in independent living versus assisted living. And that's something that we will continue to do throughout the year and longer as needed, just to make sure that everybody understands what they should expect and also what should be expected of them dependent on where they live in the community. Oh man, Paul, we're not going to have time to talk about brunch. Sharon.
I understand we have a one-call system here for communication to everyone in the community that did not work because of the power outage. So do we have a backup on the one-call system, a battery backup or something like that, so that in the future you don't have to come and knock on my door, but you can call me or notify me through the general communication system?
Thank you for that. And there's actually two separate things that may be getting confused in there a little bit, understandably. We have our aerial system, which is the emergency pendants that you wear on the watch or around your neck, or like the buttons on the walls. That system is set up to continue to function in the event of a power outage. However, through this last outage, and it's something that's, to be honest, it was on our radar before this, is that system is an older generation system that we have started upgrading over the past few years, actually. All of the pendants that everybody has now are the newest version of that technology, but the wall buttons are still the older version, and the back end technology infrastructure is some of it's the upgraded system and some of it has not yet been upgraded. We have a plan in place to make sure that the whole system is upgraded this year. I believe what our plan is to conduct those upgrades during the annual apartment inspections that I think are scheduled to start in the beginning of June. And so as we go through and do those apartment inspections, we will have a crew from the company that provides the aerial systems that will be replacing the wall buttons, as well as the motion sensors in all of the apartments. And so then that at that time, and we'll also be upgrading the sort of behind the scenes infrastructure so that that system will last a very long time on the battery backup. So that will address that issue, and there won't be any concerns there. We are also in the process, and we will soon be rolling out the one call now system. Some of you may recall hearing about that system a few years ago. It's a system where we are able to send out bulk either messages through telephone calls, like a recorded telephone call, text messages, and emails. I don't have a definitive date yet when that will be re-implemented. We rolled it out about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, unsuccessfully for a couple of reasons. And so we pulled back and we decided not to use it. The technology has advanced so that I'm actually really excited about using it now because some of the problems that we were facing have been resolved. So that will be rolled out at some point in the next few months, but I don't have a definitive date yet.
Dan Ogus seems to think that we already have that system in place. So maybe you should give him a call.
Okay. And maybe there's some confusion because we were actually the pioneers of the program, 4 or 5 years ago. But yeah, we're not utilizing it at the moment.
If you take people in that are in wheelchairs, why would you put them on the second or third floor? Why don't you put them on the ground floor? I mean, if they're up there in a wheelchair, they have no way of getting down. And why do you have them up there? Why don't you just have them down on the floor, on the lower floor?
That is a very good question.
I don't know about that.
Let's go over to Ms. Levine, and then let's come back up to the front next, and then we'll make our way around from there.
That's what
Yes.
exactly what I was going to say. I'm here only 2 years. I am still physically capable of evacuating, and I live on the first floor. Since you do not have room in assisted living for all the people who have become incapacitated and have lived here for 10, 15, 20 years, shouldn't they be given priority and moved to the first floor?
So there's a couple layers there. We currently have 5 apartments available in assisted living. So if anyone is in that situation, we have space for you in assisted living. Ms. Kuykendall.
This is going back to the alarm system. There is an alarm system that can be connected to refrigerator doors. So that when you open your door, your refrigerator door, it triggers something to let, possibly facilities or whoever you decide to be your monitor, know that there is life in that apartment. And if you do not have a response, you can set it up within your organization so that if you do not have a response by a certain hour, say 10 o'clock, the front desk is responsible for calling that unit to see if maybe somebody simply didn't open their refrigerator door, or if there's no response. And I assume you keep an away chart.
Yes.
And that person is not away, facilities would check on that person to make sure they're alive.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. And actually, we have a system in place that's not connected to the refrigerators, but there's a motion sensor within each of the apartments. And so we have a process where if by, I don't know what by noon, is that what I heard? Sorry. If there isn't any motion sense, then the concierge will contact them by phone. And if they're unable to, then they'll send somebody out there.
No.
Couple of things.
Yes.
About the disaster preparation. It has been years since we've had any evacuation information. I'll bet you nobody in this room could tell you where you think we should each of us go, depending on where we're located. Neither have we had any kind of a drill that would let at least a number of people who are able to do it go out and see where we have to go so we can help others.
Yes,
Al-
you're correct.
And is there a remediation plan for that?
So we are having conversations now about the best way to address that. And some of the things that are part of the conversations are one, making sure we're providing the appropriate information so everybody knows where their evacuation areas are, improving signage around the community to designate where the evacuation zones are. And then we're also, nothing is scheduled at this point, but working on scheduling a community-wide drill.
Is there a time box for this?
There is not a definitive time box for it at the moment.
Okay. The other thing has to do with the one call system.
Yes.
Is it attached to the battery backup? And or would it have even worked with the last power outage where even the cell phones didn't work?
Good question. And yes, we will. We would be able to use it still in the event of a power outage. However, it is a cloud-based system, and so which has benefits, but there's also drawbacks. The benefits is one of the benefits are if I'm at home in Scotts Valley and I need to send out a message to the entire community or to a certain part of the community, I can pull out my phone or jump on my computer and I can send out a message. The drawback to that is if the internet or if cell service or landline, if all telephone service goes down, then we're out of luck. Just like we wouldn't, if we're not able to make a phone call. There's two alternate options. The sure option that will always be available, well, depending on the situation, is as Terry Shoup lovingly calls SneakerNet, which is what we did during the last power outage, where we put on our sneakers and we go from door to door to share necessary information. We are also exploring another piece of technology that is utilizing radio frequency. And so there's something that we are exploring that would potentially put an intercom or a PA speaker in every single apartment that would be on battery backup and would be utilizing radio frequency, which could still be used if there's a outage of telephones and everything else. But that's just something that we're exploring. That'd be a big job. Marlon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're probably not going to like what I'm going to say.
Let's hear it.
Well, hearing all that I have heard about being able to exit your apartment if you're on the second or third floor, if something happens, about aging and things happening. An example of when that power outage happened, I'm perfectly able to go up and down stairs, but I was quarantined. And I could just imagine that things can happen to people that otherwise are just perfectly able to go up and down the stairs. And besides that, if I'm here for 15 years, which I hope I am, I'll bet you I won't be able to go up and down the stairs. And I don't want to move in some other place. I want to stay on my own place. So I would just request that you put fixing that problem by getting the elevators fixed one way or another so they work all the time. no matter what, at the top of your priority list. Put it up there. Anybody agree?
Thank you for your comment. Ruby. Oh,
This one, then I'll get.
we'll go here and then we'll come back over here. We should really have 2 microphones going or 3. This is good. This is an interactive community chat. I love it.
Hi, I was just wondering if you have given any consideration to installing cameras in the hallways of assisted living? Because I came to the terraces thinking and experiencing that everybody is so nice and honest. And, you know, I was very careless not to put some valuables in a safe. And I was robbed, and I thought maybe, you know, cameras would be very helpful for things like that in the hallways.
Thank you for mentioning that. And that is something that has been considered. We haven't completely ruled it out, or we haven't completely decided we will do it. There's obviously a lot of implications there with a lot of differing opinions about having cameras in the hallways. So it is something that I think we need to continue to explore. But there are very strong and probably rightfully so opinions about not doing something like that. But I'll make sure we revisit that with our team. Ruby.
I just wanted to make a quick note that I'm a prime example of having lived on the 3rd floor. I lived there for 8 years. My legs got worse. I wasn't able to get to the staircase, and I was given at the assessment time, I was given a choice of moving to the 1st floor or assisted living. And at that time, I saw that I was headed toward assisted living, so I moved there rather than the 1st floor. I didn't want to make 2 moves, but I think it's very appropriate if you're on the 3rd floor and can't get out, move.
Yeah, and so this speaks to a bigger issue. The Terraces of Los Gatos is a continuing care retirement community, life plan community. There's several different things terms that are used. And what makes the Terraces of Los Gatos different from a Belmont Village or an Atria Senior Living or any of the other senior living communities that are not a continuing care retirement community is we have various levels of living, so that as your needs change, as your needs progress, we are able to accommodate in a safe and comfortable environment for you. At another community that's not a continuing care retirement community, if you live on the 3rd floor, or you live on the 1st floor, or you live anywhere, and you are no longer able to evacuate, or you're no longer able to live independently, what happens? They say, you gotta go. You gotta go somewhere else. And so as difficult, and I can't completely understand it because I don't live at the Terraces. I'm not a resident of the Terraces. I love the Terraces of Los Gatos, but it's not my home. But as difficult as I can imagine it is to hear you have to move to a different part of the community, that is what this community is structured to do, is to have the accommodations so that you don't have to move out, so that you don't have to pack up all your stuff and move to a different community, but rather you can transition to an appropriate level of living based upon what your needs are as you progress. But I understand, I mean, it's tough. Ms. Wilson.
Can we talk about brunch?
Yes, Paul, take it away.
Okay, let me just say for openers, I feel like we're always doing 1 step forward and 2 steps back. Now we're going to brunch only, no dinner on Sunday again. What? Okay, well, that's what I was told. All right. And I just wonder if if there's ever a consensus of the population of of independent living about how many people really want just brunch. So Paul can take it from here.
Yes, please, Paul, and I will turn off my microphone.
All right, so you get a different voice now. Hi, everybody. How are we doing? As all of you know, we have a rather robust and vigorous dining committee, and we meet every month. And some of the things that have been consistently brought up is what happened to brunch? What happened to brunch? So we did some looking and some investigation and some talking and a lot of listening. And some of this listening occurred at the New Year's brunch. And some of it occurred at the Christmas brunch. And it started with the Thanksgiving brunch. And the response was overwhelmingly positive. We did not do dinner on Thanksgiving or Christmas or on New Year's. What we did on New Year's was kind of a hybrid model where we set up the always available menu for delivery and for carryout. But we did a robust, I think everyone agreed with this, it was a rather robust brunch for New Year's. So we took that model and decided to give this a try. Now, I appreciate the analogy, one step forward, two steps back. This is always a process of communication and listening and adjustment. Some of the things that we're putting out with this brunch is be 2 carved items. It'll be full lunch, sauteed vegetables, rice pilaf, eggs Benedict, bacon, sausage, home fries, danishes, smoked salmon, desserts. I know, right? It sounds delicious. Now, if that's something that after we do this first one, that the residents say, you know what, Paul, I hated that. I didn't want any of that. I wanted something different. Well, I have 2 ears and only 1 mouth for a reason. So I listen to these things and we'll make adjustments again. But what I wanted to do was give everyone an opportunity to experience what a brunch really is. That's what we did on the previous 3 brunches that we've done successfully. So in all of that, we came to this decision. How are we going to do this in such a way that we satisfy the needs of the maximum number of people? Because I don't believe that we're going to satisfy everyone across the board. I'm a realist. I know this. I know this is a fact. My goal, if I can hit 99%, then I'm winning. If I hit 80%, that's still a B. If it's something that doesn't suit the needs of the residents at the terraces of Los Gatos, obviously, it won't happen again. But then I have the other side of the conversation. What do I tell the people who were so vociferous about where's the brunch? So this is a test, and we'll see what the response is. Our format this Sunday is that we will still be doing deliveries for sick trays. We'll still be doing carry out. We'll still be doing all of those other things that are still available into the evening. We've extended the hours of the brunch into 2 o'clock. Bradley mentioned, can we do it earlier? Can we start earlier? And all of these things are flexible. When we open the doors is really up to us, AKA up to you. So if we open the doors at 11 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning, it's, that's just a movement of schedule. That's not a big deal. That's semantics. But to me, it was really about creating a Sunday morning gathering place for everyone to come and be convivial and have a good time and visit and have mimosas and, do do whatever it is we like to do on a Sunday. Does that answer the question? Okay, so the way we have designed it for this Sunday is that the dinner will be in the form of carry out only with the always available menu. Now, if that's not something that works for you, and I am totally open to that, then we can turn it back and go the other way.
Or your opportunity is, for years, we had brunches on Sunday and had dinner in the dining room. So what's changed?
I don't know that anything has changed necessarily, other than that I'm here, and I'm a new set of eyes, a new set of ears, and yeah, I mean that part is kind of the only change. Now, how long I stay here is totally up to you as well. So so I'm careful with that as well. And I'm getting the feeling from these 2, 3, 4 people here that not having dinner is kind of a non-starter, that we have to have dinner come in on Sunday night. Is that accurate? Okay.
Have you thought about a very abbreviated dinner? For example, a hot sandwich, a cold sandwich, soup. I mean, if you're offering a huge meal for brunch, which goes into 2 o'clock, for example, you don't just need a whole lot of dinner. And I think that anything else is personally an unreasonable expectation for the dining department.
An excellent observation. I think keeping the dining room open for limited service, I don't know, would that satisfy the need for the dining room, or are we still looking at doing the big brunch, and then because the alternative is that we could do a smaller brunch and then continue to do dinner. But these are some of the things we're talking about in dining committee, and unless I'm mistaken, brunch was the thing that people were most interested in. Now, brunch typically is breakfast and lunch. So it's breakfast foods and lunch foods and all of that stuff. Is that an accurate statement? Ms. Wilson, I'm sorry.
Paul, I think you have a lot of nice ideas, but I still think that you're just catering to a small group of people who want brunch. That's why I'm curious in knowing exactly, have you canvassed the whole community, the whole independent living community? We like our dinners. Some people like to have their big meal in the evening, and the brunch is confusing when you're having breakfast things and luncheon things. And the brunches on holidays are lovely. They're just wonderful, but I think they should just be a holiday thing.
That's well stated, and I can agree with that. Yeah, as I said, that we're going to pilot this, and if it's not something that the community wants, then we can certainly, with the drop of a hat, roll back to the other format. That's really pretty simple. Yes. So the answer is yes to that.
Is assisted living included?
Good question. The question is assisted living included in the brunches? There are a couple of questions to be answered with regard to that, and I don't have 100% clarity on that. The dining committee conveyed to me a certain position that I visited with Bradley on, and it's by reservation. Assisted living is welcome to come down to the dining room, as I understand it today.
Yeah. So we are out of time. Pat Garland, bring us home, and then I'll get a couple comments, and then we'll wrap up.
I just think it's wonderful to hear about the brunches. Those of us have been here for 8 or 9 years really remember the brunches, and it was so nice. And I just think we should do a survey, because I think there's an awful lot of people that would like to have the brunches back. I may be wrong, so we could put out a survey, certainly, I would think, Paul.
Absolutely. And for just parenthetically, I didn't come to this conclusion in the ether. It was in consultation with the dining committee and also just in conversations with people in the dining room and in the community. You guys see me in the hallways all the time, and I will ask sometimes the most random questions you might think, but they're actually fact finding, and I'm actually listening and trying to find out what is it we want to do. So I'm here to be of service to you. If that means keeping the dinner structure the way it is, then that's certainly what we will do.
So thank you all for being here. Thank you, Paul, for being here. I one quick comment. I think some of you may have some reservations, concerns, because of an experience maybe 6 or 8 months ago where we rolled out a Sunday brunch and closed the dining room for dinner. What happened then was, to put it bluntly, we just kept serving lunch and we closed for dinner, and we didn't really do a true brunch. And so I think the two things that are different or will be different is what that brunch is compared to what it was when we attempted to do this 6 or 8 months ago. And so I think you'll have a completely different experience with the brunch this Sunday than the brunch that you had maybe on Sunday 6 or 8 months ago. Or maybe it was longer, I don't remember. Another difference that will hopefully over time make this as successful as possible is that we have a dining services director that is listening. And that's what we've missed in the past, is not listening to that feedback and a lack of willingness to adjust and change so that we can improve over time. So thank you, Paul, for listening, and thank you for taking the feedback and making adjustments as we go. And thank you all for your feedback, and thank you for being here. Sorry we went 8 minutes and 12 seconds over time, but enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you, Paul.